It's one of the most shocking scenes ever caught in Wales, a fight that turned a quiet cemetery into a battlefield. August 5, 2022, Morriston Cemetery in Swansea. Families had come to pay their respects to loved ones, to light candles and lay flowers. But instead of peace, they brought chaos. And what followed would shake the traveller community to its core. The footage is hard to watch. Vans speeding between headstones, men running with machetes, hammers, shovels, even an axe. Screams echo through the graveyard as mourners scatter. You can hear engines revving, glass smashing, people shouting each other's names. And all of it happening in a place meant for mourning, a place of silence. This wasn't random. It was the latest explosion in a long-running feud between two traveller families, the O'Briens and Coffeys on one side, and the Murphys and Thomases on the other. Two branches of the same wider community, linked by blood, split by pride and bad history. They'd clashed before, in Llanelli, in Cardiff, even in smaller disputes around South Wales. But this time, both sides came armed, and both came looking to make a statement. That Friday afternoon, a group from Llanelli, Patrick Murphy and Andrew Thomas, showed up at Morriston Cemetery. They weren't there just to pray. According to witnesses and police, they arrived with a hammer and a baseball bat. Murphy smashed a car windscreen before storming the cemetery chapel and wrecking flower vases, the kind left for the dead. It was pure disrespect. Moments later, the rival side pulled up. Among them, James Coffey from Cardiff and members of the O'Brien family. Tensions snapped instantly, phones were out, words were exchanged, and then chaos. What started as shouting turned into a full-blown brawl. One man pulled a machete, another swung a bat. A van tore through the cemetery like a missile, missing people by inches. The sound of engines drowned out the cries of families who had nothing to do with it. One clip shows James Coffey jumping from his van, baseball bat in hand, sprinting after another car while someone behind him hurls a brick. There's another video, 7 men chasing each other through the graves. You can see one of them wielding an axe, another with a shovel. And in the middle of it all, gravestones and flowers, the resting place of generations being trampled underfoot. A 19-year-old boy ended up stabbed and bleeding on the ground. Others walked away with deep cuts, bruises, and broken bones. Police called it absolutely appalling. Within minutes, armed officers and a helicopter were on scene. Locals said it looked like something out of a war zone. Sirens echoing through the valley, blue lights flashing across marble crosses. Detective Inspector Carl Price summed it up later. People were shocked by the scale of it, the level of violence, the location, and the disrespect. With the kinds of weapons that were used, it's lucky nobody was killed. And he wasn't exaggerating. This wasn't a few punches thrown at a pub car park. This was a funeral turned into a fight for dominance, a clash of families who couldn't let their old grudges die. The footage spread fast. By nightfall, the videos were already online, on Facebook, WhatsApp, everywhere. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. A machete fight at a Welsh cemetery, mourners screaming, kids crying, cars screeching between graves. It was front-page news by morning. Police arrested 13 men in total. The courts later confirmed that 7 of them were jailed, each name connected to a moment caught on camera. Patrick Murphy, 2 years and 8 months. Andrew Thomas, 3 years. James Coffey, 2 years and 3 months. Martin O'Brien, 16 months. Others got suspended sentences or shorter terms. Judge Paul Thomas KC didn't hold back in court. He called it a desecration of a sacred place. He said the men turned Morriston Cemetery into a racetrack, smashing through the grounds with no regard for the dead or the living. He told them it was beyond the realms of coincidence that both sides just happened to show up armed. That this wasn't spontaneous. It was planned. It was deliberate. He was right. By the time police collected evidence, machetes, bats, smashed car parts, CCTV, it was clear both groups had been preparing for a confrontation, and once it started, no one was backing down. The aftermath rippled far beyond Swansea. Within the traveller community, it reopened old wounds, the kind that run deep, generation to generation. Some blamed pride, others said it was about family honor, but whatever the cause, the result was the same: men behind bars, families shamed, and a community dragged back into the headlines for all the wrong reasons. For locals in Morriston, the shock lingered. People still talk about it in whispers, the day the cemetery turned into a war zone. For weeks after, flowers and headstones still lay broken, the grass marked with tire tracks. Even now, there's a silence when you walk those paths, as if the ground remembers. The police said they hoped the sentences would send a message, but those who know the culture know it's not that simple. Feuds like this don't just end in a courtroom, they simmer. And one wrong word, one disrespect, can bring it all flooding back. The Swansea Cemetery fight wasn't just a story about violence, it was about identity, pride, and the dark side of loyalty. It showed the world a glimpse of the traveller world that outsiders rarely see, where family comes before everything and grudges last a lifetime. But it also showed something deeper, how a moment of anger caught on camera can stain a whole community. When Judge Thomas finished his sentencing, he said something that still sticks. The funeral should be a sacred time, but you men chose to bring war to a place of peace. And that's what this story is. Not just a brawl, but a tragedy. A reminder that violence never really ends where it starts. It echoes, through families, through communities, and through the graves of the very people they came to honor.